Hi, welcome to Reddit Audio Stories official channel. We hope you will have fun with us. I appreciate your visit to my channel dedicated to love stories. I encourage you to subscribe and give it a thumbs up as it serves as great motivation for me to create new content. Enjoy watching. Anthony Honeyney, my fi. NK Daisy said at breakfast, I'm going to have to stay late. Tonight is something wrong. I asked anything. Work related, no, she looked a little embarrassed, but I still couldn't figure out what was wrong. The thing is Ethan, his girlfriend, dumped him. Ethan, you wreck so well, he called me yesterday and he's really upset and he needs support. I'm sorry. Daisy. I don't understand. Your ex who dumped you is upset because the woman he dumped you for dumped him and you want to support him. Yes. I do. Her cheeks flushed. He obviously knew he was saying the wrong thing, but he continued his speech nonetheless. It doesn't mean anything to our relationship. It's just friendly support. Lily, I couldn't help but exclaim. This is totally wrong. Remember, he dumped you. You were just upset? You were suffering depressed. I was the one who saved you from it. Now I'm worried because you're suffering, she frowned. I feel responsible. We didn't have much time to talk. The timing was so inopportune. And later I realized that she had deliberately not talked about the problem that afternoon simply because she knew the truth of her position. She knew what I hadn't. Realized that I was a backup, a quiet cove in which to wait out the storm, and so ended our conversation this morning. You don't have to do anything for him. You're in a new relationship with me and he's in the past and he left you for someone else. You want me to feel guilty about his condition. I didn't expect you'd be so cruel. I'll go to him anyway, and don't you dare stop me. And you're just jealous, you have no confidence in yourself. As a man, she didn't come back tonight and the night before and the morning after. Her phone wasn't answering, it wasn't off, it was blacklisted. It made sense. I guess I should have been glad we didn't get married. But that's how you think. After a long time and the moment it happens, realizing that you've been cheated on for a year, that you've been used, I'll take it. We realized we both made a mistake, he said that afternoon, showing up at my house without greeting me or thinking to justify himself or apologize. And me. I'm sorry, he said, almost indifferent. So all this time I've been the backup. He's plan A and I'm plan B, don't be silly. It was a mistake. I really thought it was over between us and I was being honest with you. Daisy. I smiled bitterly. What if I told you I was depressed? You'd quit and come back to me, wouldn't you? She just shook her shoulder in response and began hurriedly gathering her things. Not all of it. Of course, my apartment had managed to fill up with a lot of stuff in a year for a few days. I sank into a black depression. The next day I changed the locks. It was unbearable to think that when I was at work, she would come with Ethan to get her things. They would go through my house, go through things, and who knows? Maybe the guy would even want to mark territory by fucking my Frank in my bed? He'd probably come and wouldn't be able to get into the apartment because Daisy texted me that they were coming to pick up stuff on Saturday. Characteristically, after taking me off the blacklist to text me, she immediately put me back on it, a coworker with whom I have a more or less collegial relationship and with whom I can chat about non-work stuff. When I told him about the breakup between Daisy and I after thinking about it, he said, you know, when they come to pick up your stuff, you might feel pretty bad. It's like their honeymoon, you know, even if they don't say anything, you know, like they're not going to make fun of you or anything. You're going to feel like they're laughing at you. Do you want me to come and support you? Or I could stand in for you. That's fine with me. I just don't know what I can give them and what I can't give them. I thanked him, at which point I looked down at my Anthonyette on the back of the chair, which this week was working on. The effect of my presence in the office. Harder than ever. I was often uncomfortable to be in the office and even more uncomfortable to work. I felt like getting drunk and would often sneak off somewhere, so I wouldn't be seen, so I wouldn't interact with anyone. When Anthony arrives in a rented van, I put a carefree expression on my face. At least I tried, but I couldn't escape their smiles and sarcastic looks, and that increased my anxiety. I pulled Daisy's things out of drawers and closets and felt like crying. Suddenly it was as if a spring had gone off inside me. I suddenly remembered school, remembered the bullying I had been subjected to at one point, how I had had to face almost the entire class. No, it hadn't come to big fights. But then they had tried to boycott me and I wouldn't have been able to do anything against everyone if I had behaved like little. So I just boycotted. I ignored the ice wall. I would arrive in the morning and cheerfully greet everyone without waiting for a response. I didn't ask for help or ask questions. I acted as if nothing was wrong, kept smiling. I even enjoyed it when I ran into one of my enemies and he made comments like, "Oh Anthony, that's a cool batch. I should get something like that for myself," and without waiting for a response. I walked away, leaving the jerk standing there looking puzzled. It was like a boycott, but as if some kind of conversation was going on. I only had to fight back once when one of my classmates tried to take my pen before class. But after that there were no more attempts at physical influence. There was just an invisible wall of ice. I endured about a month and then I took a lot of abuse when I was already choosing who to boycott and who to ignore. I guess that's the advantage of being an introvert, the independence from society. Well, not total, of course, but partial. It worked for me then and now I wear a mask too. Why are you in such a hurry? I said, smiling almost naturally. I've been given a bottle of excellent wine, but I can't drink it alone and it's a bit boring to drink alone. They look at each other in surprise. Daisy shrugged and the ex who I knew liked to drink nodded. I laugh almost out loud and pull out a bottle and glasses. Cheers. I raised my glass to them. I said it's very nice when people can keep their affection, their love for so long. I have the guys a little bit, I really do. It's great that you don't have any jealousy of each other. Not everyone can eat it, knowing that recently there was someone else sent on it. No, if you don't know if the girls slept together secretly, then there's nothing to worry about. But knowing for sure that a few hours ago something has been poured in there, and even after rinsing it out, there may still be levettas. What are you talking about? Exclaimed Daisy. I'm sorry. I always say something tactless. I mumbled in embarrassment and added, turning to the ex, forget it, forget it. Daisy put down her glass and said angrily to Ethan, let's go, Daisy, let us finish a little, I said, smiling. I said somewhat rudely, I'm sorry, we're adults, wait outside. He'll catch up with you in a minute, and without asking. I refill Ethan's wine. I guessed right, Ethan couldn't leave his glass unfinished. Daisy shot us an angry look and walked away, and I whispered conspiratorial to Ethan. I'd recommending the ass. I dreamily rolled my eyes, you can refuse. But if a little forced, then just satisfied. So I chuckled, we both understand your nature. Don't we? We can have a threesome sometime. I didn't dare to start persuading her, but you can do it. Her ex darkened and gave me a dirty look. She put down the empty glass and walked away. I breathed a sigh of relief. The show was over. Believe it or not. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that I got them to stop laughing at me, and if I managed to ruin their evening and put doubts in the ex's head, then already gotten a little revenge and made Daisy see that it didn't really hurt. Daisy called the next day and hysterically demanded that I tell the ex that I had lied about the Anne. I immediately guessed that I had put myself on speakerphone just for the ex, so I continued with the performance. Lily, come on. What's the big deal? Is that retarded? You liked it? Didn't you? You bastard red. You've never had me on my ass, she screamed. Daisy, don't get hysterical. If you need it, I'll confirm anything you want. Put him on the phone. Now is he around? Let me talk to him. I promise. I'll tell him we've only had missionary sex twice a year. You dog. I hate you. You dropped the call and I still love you. I replied to the turned-off smartphone without touching. A day later she arrived, starting to argue from the doorway. I let her in. She again demanded a rebuttal for the ex, and I knocked again, suspecting she was recording the conversation, and then the ex showed up and it was wonderful. Yours is here. I said. Shall I open it? He's not very jealous, is he? Yeah, we heard, shut up. He muttered. I'll wait in the bedroom. I don't want to explain myself. I opened the door, pulling up my fly where I could see him. Oh, Evathan. I exclaimed excitedly, it's good to see you, and I held out my hand in an exaggeratively happy and therefore fake way, but immediately pushed it away. I'm sorry, it's dirty. I'll clean it for you. And as if checking my own words, I quickly brought my palm to my nose, sniffed and nodded. Yes, I'll be right there. I grabbed the packet of wet wipes that was always on the nights, then by the door and wiped defiantly. Can I get you anything? It's about Daisy. Ethan began crestfallen. What makes you think I have her? I asked, glancing quickly toward the bedroom door. I don't know where she could be, especially since she loves you. Axe looked me straight in the eye. I didn't think I said I was looking for her at your house. Are you below? Look, why don't we go outside and talk for a while? I answered the question with another question and looked back toward the bedroom door. Wait for me. I'm going out. Yes, he said, just checking something and pushing me, which I didn't resist at all. He went to the bedroom door and yanked it open. It worked like a charm. Daisy had probably been squatting by the door listening to our conversation, and when it opened, she lost her balance and fell into the living room. It's not what you think, I exclaimed, though no one had asked me. We did nothing of the sort. The ex stood motionless, shifting his gaze from me to Daisy and back again. And I kept rambling on as if the ex was saying something. Ethan, don't worry, it's nothing to be jealous about. Just because a guy and a girl end up in the bedroom doesn't mean anything. And she loves you. Get a grip. We haven't had anything since she and I decided she was going to be with you. Hardly anything. Nothing's happened. I just came to talk. Daisy whispered. We couldn't have done anything in an hour. I added. You know, she likes more time and so do I. Shut up both of you. I need to be alone. She turned and ran out the door. Daisy looked at me confused and didn't seem to know what to do. It's better not to touch him now, I said. Wait a couple of hours. At least he needs to calm down. That was stupid. Give me that. I took the phone out of his hand and pressed the button to turn it off. That way, they don't say anything to each other in the heat of the moment. In fact, I wish the ex couldn't contact her and she would have thought anything but what she was. I heard you without meaning to. I'm sorry, she smiled. Have a cup of tea, come to your senses. And then I'll take you to him myself and I promise I'll explain everything to him. I'll apologize. I'll tell him I had a crisis, that it was hysteria. You'll see he'll understand everything. Why are you doing this? Exclaimed Lily. Angrily. Is this how you expect me to recover? If it weren't for your behavior, we could still be friends. I'd hold a grudge, and now you're a jerk, Anthony. I kept apologizing and humiliation, promising to make it up to you, and in my heart, I reveled in revenge. I wasn't the only one who would suffer. Lily gradually calmed down and we even had Timmy talking about something, basically mumbling, secretly glad that she'd forgotten her phone was off, which meant that if Ethan tried to call her, he'd have a good reason to be jealous. I guessed right. About 45 minutes later, Ethan returned. Daisy had time to say to me, "Don't you ever say anything like that again?" I promised. I said, and I kept my promise. I put the torn condom wrapper on the night scent by the door, so Ethan wouldn't miss it, and he did. When I opened the door, he looked at the golden square, his face contorted, he looked at me angrily, turned around and stormed out. What? Daisy jumped up. What did you say to him? Nothing? I swear, I answered. Now I will take you to him and do what I promised. I took her to Ethan's and walked her to the door of his apartment, though she refused. But I behaved like a gentleman carrying 2 bags of small things. I tried to stay to Daisy's left so she wouldn't look at the left side of my face. But when Ethan opened, I purposely turned around so she would notice the lipstick mark on my neck. No, any woman would have realized that that lipstick mark was just a lipstick mark, a stroke, not a kiss mark, but Ethan is just a man. Where was he to know? Anyway, he got the message and read it exactly as I wanted it to be read. I got whole, and for the first time my mood was, if not great, then a beat. I suddenly realized that I no longer wanted Daisy back. It was as if the whole show had ripped her from my heart. 3 days later, in the evening, I opened the door at the doorbell. Daisy was standing behind it and she was clearly upset about something. May I? I poured her a gin and opened a can of beer. We broke up, she said lately. She keeps accusing me of sleeping with you. You set that up on purpose, didn't you? I tried to explain to him that it was your revenge. Didn't I? If you don't want to tell them, don't tell him. I know that we've said so many things. You know, it's actually good that you're doing this. I've really forgotten what it was like. And when we started fighting, I remembered it was a good lesson and I realized I didn't need him. I needed you. I realized that this year has been the best year of my life. No one has ever cared about me like this, Anthony. I don't want to see him anymore. I wrapped my arms around her, pulled her tighter against me and spoke softly into her ear. I'm glad you noticed and that you came. My fong are still there, Daisy said, and moved in to kiss me. It's okay, I told her before our lips met, and after a long kiss. I said, you're not going to mess them up, are you? And we can pick them up later. It was a lovely night of Lou making king. Daisy was loving and proactive. She healed me completely in the morning. I took my coffee to bed and enjoyed contemplating her sweet face. In the morning, her serene smile, her gentle gaze on me. Before leaving the house, I kissed her again. We stopped at Athens, arrived at the door of his apartment, and I pulled Daisy to me and kissed her softly on the corner of her lips. I will miss you, Daisy. I told her I will always remember our year. She could only open her mouth and looked at me helplessly. I can wait in the car while you look for the essentials and tell me where I'm taking you. Where are you going to live now that both your ex and I have kicked you out in a hotel? What do you mean? She said. Confused, I mean, you not going to live with me. I just wanted to test you when you were expecting a rebound. I expected you to try harder and my expectations were met. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments. Put likes, share with friends and subscribe to the channel.